So we're going over the diagrams for exam number 2. The first thing I wanted to point out is in the directions, the instructions, it specifically asks you to treat the title "Death Comes for the Archbishop" as a noun clause. That means you have to break it up each component and diagram that out, and then it itself acts as a noun clause, and it requires its own identification of the sentence pattern. So let's get into it. The first one we have Willa Cather is the subject. She wrote, which is an action verb. What did she write? She wrote a novel. So that is the direct action of, or the direct object for that verb receiving the action wrote. That makes this a pattern 7 with subject, action verb, and direct object. We have the prepositional phrase in 1927 answering the question when. So that goes under the main verb. And then the novel is followed by the title, which makes it in a positive because it follows the noun that it's clarifying. So the pedestal goes in parentheses, and then you'll see that each time we encounter the title, it will be diagrammed as this. We have death is the subject, comes is the verb, and then we have the prepositional phrase for the archbishop. So that's a pattern 6 because we have a subject and an intransitive verb. So the next sentence we have just that same thing that we just talked about with the title is a pattern 6. That is acting as the subject of the sentence. So it goes in the subject area of the main part of the sentence. The verb is begins, and then we have in 1848 the prepositional phrase acting as an adverb answering the question when. So that second clause is book. This noun clause begins. It begins, which is a pattern 6. Then we have our conjunction here, which connects these two clauses. It goes in between. And then the third clause, we have the subject character. Be verb is. Father Latour is a title, so that stays all together. So we have subject, be verb, noun as the subjective complement, which makes that a pattern 3, and the two modifiers go below. Next, we have cardinals as a subject. 3 is a number, which is modifying that, so that goes below. These cardinals are in Rome. And so that goes below cardinals. Some of you put it under the verb consider, thinking it answers the question where, which is correct. However, they're not considering in Rome. The cardinals are actually located in Rome. So it goes below the subject. They're considering what? They're considering Father Latour. So that is a direct object receiving the action of that verb. So far we have subject, action verb, direct object. As soon as we see this verb as following the direct object, you know that should send up red flags that it's going to be a pattern 9 or 10, depending on what follows. The as goes up above because it's an expletive, not really having meaning in the sentence. Father Latour is what? A missionary. So we have a noun as a subjective complement. That makes this a pattern 10 because it ends with a noun. And then we just have the rest of what's going on here. We have the two modifiers, and then we have our prepositional phrase for the New World. New World is technically 1 unit, so it is that one noun that goes here. So that is a pattern 10. Number 4. Mission is the subject. Father Latour's is the possessive that modifies the mission. Verb is includes. That's an action verb, and it includes what? It includes 3 things: Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and parts of Mexico. So these are all acting as a direct object. So we have subject, action verb, direct object, which makes this a pattern 7. Since we have a compound structure here, we have to bracket it out. Albuquerque and Santa Fe go on the top. Parts is the main noun here, and then of Mexico is the prepositional phrase that goes below, and they're joined by the conjunction and. Number 5, Father Latour is the subject. What did he do? He prayed. And then we have about, which is a prepositional phrase. So we know that this is our first clause. It's a really short one. Subject and intransitive verb makes it a pattern 6. About is our prepositional phrase. It goes below, just like normal. The only thing that's different now is instead of having just a simple noun, we have a noun clause as the object of the prepositional phrase. So that's up on a pedestal. We're going to leave the how for just a minute, and we'll come back to that later. So let's get to the main part of the sentence. The subject is he. We have would perform as the verbs, and perform what? Perform duties. So we have subject, action verb, direct object, making this a pattern 7. And then we just have the rest of the sentence, which is prepositional phrases and modifiers. His goes below, and then throughout the territory is the prepositional phrase. And then we come back to how, and that is answering the question how. Obviously, that's one of those questions that we associate with adverbs. So the how goes below the verb in that second clause. Father Vaillant is the subject here of the first clause. His verb that he's doing, the action he's doing, is assisting. So we have subject verb assist. He assists whom? He assists Father Latour. So we have subject, transitive verb, direct object, makes that a pattern 7. Then we have a prepositional phrase. As I said, it's always helpful to just kind of isolate those and ignore those for a moment while you're diagramming and identifying the sentence patterns. And we have in his sacred duties is the prepositional phrase that goes below. So this is a pattern 7. There's no conjunction connecting the two. There's just a semicolon. So we do have that dotted line with the verbs being connected, but we have an X showing that there's no conjunction there. The second clause, we have to. Sometimes that can be an adjective, but in this case, it's the subject referring to the two men. So to, the verb is become. That's a linking verb. And then the noun is companionship. So we have subject, linking verb, noun is a subjective complement, which makes it a pattern 5. And then we just have our modifiers that go below. Both of these next sentence patterns are patterns 2. They're exactly parallel to each other. We start with Father Latour as the subject. We have the be verb, and then we have the adjectives that describe them: calm, scholarly, and humble, which go in the bracket. These are all subjective complements referring back to Father Latour. So we have subject, be verb, adjectives, which makes that a pattern 2. And then the next sentence is exactly the same, just a different subject and different adjectives. One thing that a lot of you missed is the meanwhile. That is not a conjunctive adverb that goes in between. It's an adverb answering the question when. So it goes, and even the person who did the key realized their mistake later. So it goes below the verb as an adverb in the second clause. The next one, we have an introductory clause, so we're going to ignore that for just a minute and get to the main part of the sentence. Subject is missionaries, and we have our 2 modifiers, and the missionaries bless is the verb. They bless what? They bless lives. So we have subject, transitive verb, direct object, making this a pattern 7. We have our 2 modifiers, and then with their complementary personalities is that introductory clause that's acting as an adverb, talking about how they're blessing. They're blessing with their personalities. So that goes below the verb. Bless the lives, and then we have this of prepositions to send up all kinds of red flags by this point in the semester. So that goes below the main line. And now we have a noun clause as the object of the preposition. So that goes on a pedestal on that preposition line. Subject is whoever. The verb is experiences, an action verb, and they experience what? 2 things, heartaches and trials, which are nouns. So we have subject, transitive verb, and direct object, which makes that a pattern 7. Number 9, we have this title coming back again that we said was a pattern 6, subject, verb, and then the prepositional phrase. That's acting as the subject of the sentence, so it goes in the beginning on the pedestal of this second clause. So we have subject covers. It covers is the action verb, and it covers what? It covers the rest. A lot of you put Father Latour, or the misprint here should be life. But the main verb here is rest. The rest of this is a prepositional phrase, so that can't be a part of the main sentence. So we have subject, verb, direct object, makes that a pattern 7. and then we put our preposition. It's the rest of what? It's the rest of Father Latour's life. So that goes underneath the rest. Then we have our semicolons showing that there's a relationship here, but there's no conjunction or conjunctive adverb. So we just do our line with an X connecting them. He is the subject, lives is the verb. Then we have to preposition, so it goes below. So he lives is the main part of the sentence, making that a sentence pattern 1, sentence pattern 6. And then we have our prepositional phrase here below. Finally, we have Father Latour is our subject, becomes is our verb, that's a linking verb, and he becomes a man of God. So we have man as our noun as the subjective complement. Subject, linking verb, noun makes that a pattern 5. We have our article and prepositional phrase here. Semicolon connecting, so we have a dotted line, but nothing there, so we put our X. We as the subject, should emulate are the verbs, and emulate what? Emulate qualities. So we have subject, transitive verb, direct object, making that a pattern 7. Our modifier goes here, and then we end the sentence with a prepositional phrase of what, and then we have those 4 nouns that are the object of the preposition, and they go in the bracket. So we have qualities of compassion, diligence, faith, and service. I know that was a super fast kind of rushing through the diagrams. I didn't do all of the details. I wanted to get the main things in. The important thing here, and what a lot of us are missing, are the noun clauses, understanding the words that trigger the noun clauses, where they fit in, and how they're diagrammed. If you have questions about any of this after having listened to this, please, 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 please let me know. And I want to work through this with you so that you're understanding and feeling comfortable and not just letting these questions drag on.